I thought I'd come down from the vinyl attic and tell a little story about Ace Frehley. Since we're still mourning his death, the world is sort of rocking in the news that we lost Ace Frehley last week. So I wanted to tell the story about meeting Ace. When you meet your heroes. Okay, so we got to go to 1988. This story takes place in 1988. It has two parts. The story has two parts. So in the late 1980s, I was firmly in the Atlanta rock scene, which had certainly a metal influence. Long blonde hair, dyed preference 99 palest blonde. It was my Axl Rose phase. And a lot of us who worked in the music scene for bands or in the music scene worked at least part-time at a pizza place called Fellini's Pizza. Very famous in Atlanta, still there. The Fellini's in Little Five Points. I washed dishes and DJ'd. I worked with a lot of people, including Sean Marshall, who you might know as Cat Power. And my roommate at the time was Steve Gorman, who was the drummer for the Black Crowes. Amazing drummer. And so they had a Fellini's appreciation night, and Clay, the owner, sort of foot the bill for us to hang out at a local bar called Atkins Park in Virginia Highlands, a very nice little bar. I was there, but I was also a graduate student, so I had to get up in the morning. So I left all my Fellini's pizza friends there drinking, and I get a call from my roommate, Steve, at a little after midnight, and he says, I'm in the bar, and Ace Frehley is here. Ace Frehley. And I knew that Ace was in town because his band Frehley's Comet was opening up for Iron Maiden at the Fox Theater. This is July 29th, 1988. That's the date. And Steve says, get all your Kiss records and bring them here and get Ace to sign them. Now, I'm thinking in my head, there's no way that Ace Frehley is hanging out at Atkins Park Bar, and all my friends are just drunk off their ass, and they know I have every Kiss album and picture disc and promo, and they want me to walk in with a giant stack of albums, and they're going to laugh their asses off. I just know it because Gorman's a little bit of a jokester. So I'm thinking that's not true. But just in case, I had the Frehley Comet cassette, so I grabbed the cassette sleeve, stuck it in my pocket, and ran up to Atkins Park, which is just around the corner from our apartment, and the guys from Atkins Park are in the back of the bar, and they're all huddling together, and they're like, there he is. There's Ace Frehley. And he was sitting in a booth with two young women, because he's Ace Frehley. This is after the show, and having some drinks. And I'm like, have you guys talked to him? And they're like, no, it's Ace. We can't talk to him. He's Ace. I'm like, come on. So I went over, and I said, hey, Ace, grew up with your music. I'm a big fan of your music, and I love what you're doing now. I have the new album, Frehley's Comet. Would you sign it? He's like, yeah, sure, man. And then I had a felt tip pen, sadly, purple felt tip pen, and he signed it to Randy, Rock On, Ace Frehley. Super nice. I took it back to the guys, and they were all like, oh. So then they all kind of started moving in to talk to him, and the ladies he was with were not having. They're like, we're just trying to have a drink. Leave us alone. So I was the one that got the autograph. And I met Ace. I mean, this is a guy who was the soundtrack of my adolescence, right? I can mimic Ace on every solo, on every Kiss song released from 1973 to 1979. Flash forward to about 6 weeks later in early September. Steve calls me again in the middle of the night. He says, hey, Randy, last time I called you at a bar in the middle of the night, who was there? And I said, Ace Frehley. He said, multiply that by 10, and who do you get? And I'm like, I don't know, Ted Nugent. And he said, multiply it by 100, and who do you get? I'm like, well, obviously Jimmy Page. I'm at Tattletales, which was a strip bar in Atlanta, with Black Crowes, and Jimmy Page is here. Get down here, bring your Led Zeppelin albums, get down here. And I'm thinking, he's going to do it to me again. I know he's going to do it to me again. There's no way that Jimmy Page is hanging out in this strip club in Atlanta. So I just grabbed my Houses of the Holy CD, which on the inside in the original CD is just white. So I shoved it in my pocket. I hopped on my Vespa scooter and rode to Tattletales, a very famous little strip bar on Piedmont. I don't know if it's still there. I walk in. There's the Black Crowes, and this is before they blew up and became super famous. But they basically had their style down and were about to become the big band that they became. They're all hanging out in this strip bar. I'm like, all right, where's Jimmy? And they're like, there he is, and he's sitting by himself because his album Outrider had just come out. The tour started in Atlanta, and he was doing rehearsals for the tour, which I would see, I think, 2 nights later at the Omni in Atlanta. So he's just hanging out by himself. And Jimmy Page, Zoso, there he is. And I'm like, have you guys talked to him? They're like, So, of course, I was deputized to go over and talk to Jimmy Page. And I sat down and said, hey, Jimmy, I don't want to bother you. I know you're having a good time, but I've managed this band called Drivin' and Cryin', hugely influenced by you. They're out on Island Records and just a big influence. And I wonder if you could sign this. And I had it turned inside out, so it didn't look like I just happened to have Houses of the Holy in my pocket. And he signed it to Randy Rock On Jimmy Page. Rock On, the exact same way that Ace Frehley signed it. To Randy Rock On Ace Frehley, to Randy Rock On Jimmy Page. I'm like, is this some type of code? So I've been using Rock On as a sign-off ever since. But then I went over and talked to the guys, and I'm like, yeah, he's just hanging out. And but then, this is the end, almost the end of the story. Since we're in a strip bar, a naked woman walked up to me, and remember, I have long hair, and I'm in my rock garb, and said, excuse me, are you Jimmy Page? She had heard a rumor that there was a rocker named Jimmy Page in the bar. And because it was sort of some adolescent fantasy, I said, why, yes, I am. She said, what band are you in? And I said, The Firm. And she said, I love that band. And I said, no, actually, I'm not. That guy over there is Jimmy Page, and he's from Led Zeppelin. And she went, ooh! And she scooted over and sat down next to Jimmy. And later in the night, they left together. But out of this experience, I got, besides, my friendship with the Black Crowes, I got to meet Ace Frehley and Jimmy Page in the course of one summer. How is that? Ace, we miss you. Jimmy, we're glad you're here. And to all of you out there, rock on.